How you doing, Clay?
Doing good,
All right.
good.
Bring us back. I know everybody online right now and on the radio wants to know about 31-5A because last night Sherry Lynn did upset Mission Vets, and it is an upset. So how does that affect the scenarios?
Well, it's very interesting, obviously, because there's 3 teams tied for the district lead in that district now. Mission Veterans, Sherryland, and Laredo-Nixon are all tied at 6-1. Of course, Sherryland beat Mission Veterans beat Nixon, and Nixon beat Sherryland. So that's but what won't change is the divisions as those two go in. Basically, Sherryland and Mission Veterans are both Division. Sherryland is Division 2. Nixon and Mission Veterans are both going to be Division 1, no matter what happens with the fourth place spot in that district. It comes down to this, with Pioneer's big win last night. Pioneer is in with a win, and they are at Roma. Rio Grande City not only needs to win, but they need a Pioneer loss in order to get into the playoffs. So Rio Grande City is hosting Sherryland next week. Sherryland wants to win so that they can, it won't really make a whole lot of difference for Sherryland since they're Division 2. But Mission Veterans and Nixon now are fighting for that number 1 playoff spot, which, of course, Mission Veterans has the edge because they've beaten Nixon. What basically looks like is that it looks like Sherryland is going to go ahead and play against Brownsville Pace, most likely in the first round of the playoffs. After that, everything else is up in the air, depending upon what happens with Nixon and Mission Veterans. Because District 32 5A is set in stone. All 4 teams are in. Brownsville Veterans and Lopez are your 1 and 2 seeds in Division 1, and Mercedes and Pace are your 1 and 2 seeds in Division 2. Now, there's still a chance if Mercedes were to lose their final game of the year that they could, but even then they still have the tiebreaker over Pace. So they're going to be the number 1 seed in Division 2. So who will they play? Most likely Mercedes will play either Pioneer or Rio Grande City in that first round matchup. And as for the other, it'll either be Nixon or Mission Veterans taking on either Brownsville Lopez or Brownsville Veterans, depending upon what happens with the seeding there. Of course, Mission Veterans has got Valley View in the final week, and Nixon has Martin. Now that's a rivalry game, so Nixon could lose that game, even though Martin is already knocked out of the playoffs, and Mission Veterans is cheering for that.
Wow.
So
that's all I have to say right now. Wow. Now, hey, wait, Clay.
Yeah.
You've been down here since when? What year? 2000.
I got down here at the very end of football season 2002.
Okay. Have you ever done a season where Ed Calchelsa and Harlingen have not made it?
The same year? Man, I'm not sure.
That'll
I really don't know that I have.
That'll be a good one for the newspaper to research and print so we can tell you the answer. But or maybe Dr. Gregg can tell us. But that in my years, I can't tell you a year where both of them were left out. And I came down here the first time in 1985. And,
wow.
And, back then it was the University of Harlingen days. So they were in every year, even if Ed Couch wasn't always. But I'm going to say the last 15 years, pretty much those are 2 of the best programs in the Valley. And I would doubt that there's any years they haven't both been in. That'd be crazy to even think about.
Yeah, and it is crazy, and it's kind of weird what it does to the Battle of the Arroyo this year. If Los Fresnos is in tonight, then that kind of gets rid of all the drama for that final weekend game, and that's not the only one that it gets rid of the drama for. I mean, Pace and Lopez was going to be, a huge game coming up this next weekend. 2 teams, but now they've both made the playoffs, and they're both pretty much locked into their spots.
Yeah.
So Lopez and Pace in the final week of the season won't really count for a whole lot.
It just comes down to most coaches want to be on. They want to be 2 things. You want to be healthy and confident, and it's hard to get beat and be confident going into a playoff game. I've seen district champs do it and then play really poorly in the playoffs, and I've seen teams have to fight that last game to get in and get on a roll and win 2 or 3. So it just kind of comes down to knowing your team and what kind of goals you had. Like district championship is still in the picture, then
Right.
that's something hard to play for. But if it's not, sometimes it makes it a little easier to say, okay, we'll play a half, and if we're behind, then we're going to start pulling some people in as we're in, and let's make sure we're healthy. So it really comes down to the coaching staff and what their philosophy is on things.
Yeah, now there are a couple of big, huge games coming up this week with a lot of playoff implications. We already talked about Sherryland and Rio Grande City, and Pioneer and Roma. But La Feria, La Grulla, both of those teams are already in. But the winner of that game will get a share of the district title in 16-4A Division I. They'll share the title with Kingsville, who finished up last night. So their season is over. They have a bye in Week 11. They've already made the playoffs, and they've already clinched the title. But either La Feria or La Grulla, the winner of that game, will share a district title with the Bremas. So that's a big one. Even bigger in 16-4A Division II is going to be West Oso at Port Isabel. That is your basic win and you're in, lose and you're done game. The winner of that game goes to the playoffs. The loser puts their cleats and pads away for another year. So that is going to be a big one, and it's at Port Isabel coming up on Friday night.
Incredible.
Yeah, so that'll be a good one.
All right, so looking at this, who do you see as your going through the districts, like as far as the ones that we know that are in, who are yours that you think have the best chance of going further? Have you looked at that at all?
I haven't been able to go ahead and project through, any particular, playoff brackets. But, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to say, after what I saw from Edinburgh Vela on Thursday night and seeing that defense is fast enough to compete with teams from up north, from San Antonio, from, Corpus Christi, heck, maybe even from Austin. They're very fast, and they're very, very good at closing in on the ball. What I saw from that defense up there makes me think that Vela has a good shot. Now, whether their offense can keep things going against, a big-time San Antonio or Austin area defense, that probably remains to be seen. But Edinburgh Vela's defense makes me think that they're built for the playoffs.
Yeah, their defense was impressive the other day, and they were able to corral Trey Guajardo pretty well. So we'll see how that goes. Can you imagine if they have to play Wesco East in the first round again?
Well, how do they handle physicality? That was the problem a year ago. They had the athletes to run you down, but man-to-man, physically, is how they got beat a year ago.
Well, they're a lot more physical this year from what I've seen, Coach, especially on that defensive line. Like I said, not maybe the biggest, but a lot of closing speed, and they're definitely not afraid to hit you. This team, I heard several folks on the Vela sideline say if they had just had this defense 2 years ago, whenever they went 10-0, and that they would have gone a little further if they had had this type of defense that they've got this year.
Well, so that could be a fun 17th of November could be really fun if that matchup were to happen in Bobby Lackey. We'll see how all that pans out.
Could be good.
Yeah, and the interesting thing will be not so much 5A first round, will be 5A second round.
Oh, sure.
When they've got to go and play the Corpus schools. Because,
Back in the 4A days, that was round one.
Yeah, that was round one.
I mean, you're matching up against the Cal Allen of Flower Bluff round one, so those were rough days.
Yeah, and you wonder about, a Brownsville veterans or a Mission veterans and what they'd be able to do in that second round against a team like, who knows, Cal Allen or, one of those other, big-time schools up there in 5A. I don't know if either one of those teams has quite the defense that they need in order to get past the second-round matchup, but both of them have fantastic quarterbacks, two of the best quarterbacks in the Valley, and I wouldn't count either one of them out. It might be a shootout, but they could maybe get into a third-round game.
Yeah, I just, early in the year when Mercedes had to go up and play Cal Allen, and arguably Mercedes also one of the better 5A teams in the Valley, and
yep.
Cal Allen kind of disposed of them pretty handily. Hopefully the Valley teams have improved over the last 11 weeks, and we'd have a different outcome.
Yeah, I would think that they have. That's why Mercedes likes to schedule Cal Allen every year, just so they can start off and get a taste of what that Coastal Bend power and speed is like, and they can, use the rest of the time to prepare for it. And I think that's what they've done, and I think they've done that pretty well.
Well, Clay, we're up against the break right now. We got to let you go.
No problem.
We don't want to let you go, but we're still going to try to get John Campbell on, Ron Adame, and Ruben Farias from La Jolla will be on as well. You're listening to The Huddle on Fox Sports 1700, the iHeart